Today, Stephen Poplin. Stephen Poplin is a friend, fellow student, mentor, fellow sojourner to many people here and around the United States and in fact around the world. And he has blessed us for many years. And for those of you who do not know Stephen, he is a minister of the Fellowship of the Inner Light. He currently serves on our board of directors and on our pastoral council. Stephen is highly educated and he has spent some time in quite a few colleges and universities and organizations where he shares his wit and his wisdom. Quite the philosopher, and he's an astrologer extraordinaire. He works with hypnosis, past life regressions, many tools he brings to people to help them to have wonderful, happy, effective lives and understand more of what's going on around them. Stephen has spent a lot of time in Europe. I suspect his feet have been on the Emerald Isle, have they not? Yes, I thought so. I could see that little Irish gleam in your eye. And we're certainly honoring those Irish this week with St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, so he spent a wee bit of time there indeed. And perhaps he'll share some of that with you at some point. And Stephen is going to share today about waves and swells, planning personal peak moments. Now, we have spontaneity, but some planning helps too. And I suspect he'll have a thing or two to tell us about it. A bit of Irish wisdom and a bit of Stephen Poplin wisdom.
Thank you. It's good to be back here. Thank you for that introduction, Susan. And yes, I actually did end up on the Emerald Island. And for some reason, I was very soon over at the Guinness Brewery. What was I doing there? Yes. Okay, and so it's good to be back here. As I said, I was over in Florida and getting a little bit of sand in my shoes. Well, actually my sandals. It was, we had our winter down there and it was so cold that there was 3 different times in the last 6 weeks I had to wear long pants. It was tough, but somebody had to do it. So here it is, March 13th of 2022. Lots of things going on in the world. And according to my notes here, preparing for this, it says, research for Meryl Ann Butler's and my program on Artists and Astrology inspired me, yet again, to encourage people to plan personal peak moments using the wave motion of the planets. Say what? Well, those are my notes, so I best, deliver. As you may know, I look for hidden meanings and I look for associations. I pull things together. I take a look at the movements of the stars and the planets, as well as synchronicities. That's one of the reasons why right over there, my phone is still turned on. Because sometimes if it rings, that might be an important bell. And that might be like, ta-da, pay attention to what's going on. I'm helping people in many of these different ways to tune in to spirit in the many ways that it works. I look for coincidences, signs, and synchronicities. One of them, of course, happens to be on this particular date, the 13th of March. In 1781, William Herschel discovers the planet Uranus. It was a little bit past 10 p.m. That's when the Aquarian age began. Yay. That was a pretty big moment. And with a astronomer doing his calculations, looking into the sky, finding that planet that had been playing hide and seek for actually quite a few dozen years until it was finally concluded, yes, that is a planet. We will call it Uranus. It is the ruler of the sign of Aquarius, and that was therefore, in my personal calculations, the beginning of the Aquarian age. That is a very big wave, by the way, because I'm talking about waves and swells today. These are planning personal peak moments. We pay attention externally and we attune internally. There's a lot of that, of course, going on in this particular church, which is what I really appreciate here. Each of these great ages are really huge, 2,160 years approximately. And at that point, back when William Herschel discovered the planet Uranus, we were ending the Piscean age. And that was an age of great institutions that had a lot more control over societies, as well as the building of cathedrals, religious art, and so forth. Then at that point, and here we are right now, in this new surge, this great wave of the air sign Aquarius, we are into innovations, technology. I see these electrical cords, lights, there's a video camera right over here. All these are signs to me that, oh, this is very Aquarian. There are some astrologers, however, and they are not looking around at such things, but they're looking into their notes and they're saying, well, according to my calculations, this is not the Aquarian age yet. And I say, well, come on, look around. You know, we are hooked in. Here's an electrical microphone here, and all kinds of really cool things. Computers, laptops, space age sorts of things. Yeah, sometimes we have to get away from the calculations and the book learning and take a look and smell the coffee. Or back to Ireland, smell the Guinness. On this very same date, the 13th of March in 1848, German revolutions that then spread across Europe began in Vienna, Austria. Revolutions of that time. Astrologers at that time did not know it because Pluto hadn't been discovered yet, but it was Uranus and Pluto aligning in the sky coincidentally during this revolutionary time. Those very same two planets came together in our 1960s. So now that gives you this association, this idea of the energies back then in the late 1840s, early 1850s, had a similar vibration as our 1960s. I didn't hear too much about sex and drugs and rock and roll during that particular time in my research, but I imagine there was. But what did happen, of course, were calls for liberation and freedom from the yoke of oppression and autocracy. And that was part of the revolutions of 1848, which interestingly enough, many historians really, they talk about it because, of course, it's a matter of history. But us astrologers, we say, and we know why. Again, a wave, a swell of energies, of freedom, of justice, of let's break out of tyranny that was happening at that time. What a coincidence. History does repeat itself or approximates a pattern. I shall continue then. On this date, the 13th of March in 1930, news of the discovery of Pluto is announced by Lowell Observatory. But let's back it up a little bit more, because on March 13th, 1855, Percival Lowell an American astronomer and mathematician, was born. It was his inspiration and the observatory that was named after him that had Pluto discovered. What a coincidence. What's happening here in mid-March? Any Pisces here? One, at least one, two, okay. These folks know something we don't know. Waves and swells. A crest is now forming. I see, I feel, I look in the news and I know that there is a crest, a wave of refugees coming from Eastern Europe to Western Europe right now. We stargazers, we peek up into the sky and say, wow, what's going on here? Fabulous Jupiter, expansive and philosophical, seeking greater perspectives, is aligning right now with Neptune in Pisces, Neptune of idealism, possibilities, imagination. And the interesting thing is the second week of April coming up, they will be exactly aligned. More sensitive individuals are feeling it right now, but definitely in April, be on the lookout for this particular swell. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to give this talk today, so that you can all be prepared for this and kind of do a little bit of internal energizing up here and get those Irish eyes smiling and get out there and make a difference. The exact degrees of that particular conjunction is going to be 21, 22, and 23 degrees Pisces, for those of you who do calculations. Plan to be inspired and moved, and each must do, of course, their own part. It's like planting seeds in your consciousness garden. Set aside time and create the ideal circumstances to prepare for divine dictation. It's that interesting, it's that special. Now, these two planets, they line up like that every 13 years. But here it is right now, 2022, with, individual and international events going on. So it makes it especially important and potent and relatively soon. So we can ride that crest. So may I offer some pointers, puns, and plans. A recipe. Get out your surfboard. Again, it's a metaphor, because it's the wave, it's a swell, it's building up. Sensitive souls can feel it already. It is a hopeful alignment and it's inspirational. However, like a huge wave in Hawaii, and I was recently there, those big waves can come crashing and can push you towards some rocks. It can push you down towards, gravel. And that reminds me, back in my 20s, I was over in California, in Southern California, I think it was near Malibu Beach, and I was doing some body surfing. And we know about the waves over here on the East Coast. This particular wave was 12 feet tall. And I look around and I go, ooh, am I going to surf that? Well, what happened was that I felt like a rag doll, and it felt like this wave just grabbed my feet and pulled me up like that, like a rag doll, threw me down underwater, and I hit the sand, and I hit like kaboom, like this. Yes, I did rise. I didn't drown. But boy, was I shaken, and with a respect for Mother Nature, a respect for the power of those waves of the ocean. But then also this recognition that, wow, there are these waves, these surges, these swells that can move us, and we have to position ourselves in just the right way. And then it could be a rather great ride. We might stumble a couple of times. We might find ourselves in a brewery in Ireland, but we have to like ride the swell as best as we can. Yes, powerful. So catch the wave, but recognize the waves as they come. Likewise, when I do my hypnotic sessions, and I write about them in my book here, I've got this here, Inner Journeys, Cosmic Sojourns. And one thing that is exciting, but also a little bit frustrating as a hypnotherapist, I take them into this trance journey. They, in this, unconscious state, they are riding this crest of spirit, of spirituality, going into a past life, dying in a past life, then whoosh, going up into spirit and getting the big picture and so forth. And sometimes they just, go back, maybe when they were 5 years old, 7 years old, and they're wrestling with something over there. So they're expecting a past life regression. And then they say, well, I didn't get that. Poplin. Well, there's no guarantees, right? But what they did get is oftentimes a healing from their past, or an insight into their family dynamics. And that certainly is important and worthwhile. And there were some times recognizing, here I am as a past life regressionist, helping these people to get into a regression, that, oh, if only I knew about their charts, and knowing that, there are certain times in someone's horoscope that you and I can be riding a personal crest, and if they had planned a session during one of these peak times, I'm sure that they would be, woo, let's go, let's go and meet, a divine being, an archetype, an angel, a spirit. But, that would require a little bit more calculations and so forth. As a utopian, when I think about, possibilities of the future, and I'm talking about an ideal future, it's the subject of another book I'm writing, I'm thinking that, oh, okay, there might be like this futuristic type of calendar that many people will have, maybe tuned into one of those little fancy watches, that talk to you. And we're not talking exactly like, how many calories you had or how many steps you made today, but this calendar will say, in approximately 3 weeks, you're going to have an opportunity to have a spiritual experience. Get ready. Cowabunga. Now, that particular device isn't here quite yet, but one can dream. Sometimes when my hypnotized clients are in this state and they do go to these fancy places, and I may not have known it at the time, but they were right tuned in to a peak experience. They may find themselves as a past life person who was a shaman, a medicine woman, an adept. And it when suddenly they start changing their voice and they start spouting some great words of wisdom. And I just tell myself, time out, stop the clock. I'm going to interview this wise person in front of me. This is a great opportunity. The recorder is going, and so I'm going to say, well, I'm glad you're here. I've got some extra questions. because all of my clients, they bring their own questions, things that they're interested in finding out about. And so I really try to attend to that. But when I am then confronted with this wise being in front of me, I go, could you tell me a little bit more about purpose, karma, divine patterns, prophecy? Oh, thank you. Very good. I will write that down. Catching the swell. And here's the point. When I am working with these people, they may have a Jupiter and Neptune transit, unbeknownst to them, but you don't have to be calculating someone's horoscope to feel it, to sense it. When someone is inspired, I mean, you get it, you talk to them. It's in their vibration, it's a high vibration, and we just have to catch the wave when it is before us. And we've seen that too, also, whether you body surf or whether you even just observe people who are surfing, they have to catch it at just the right moment. They look back and say, okay, it's coming. Is it going to be a big wave? It's going to be a little wave. We'll try it, and when they do, it's like, wow, what a great journey. So planning personal peak moments is what this is really about. Let's play in the waves, feel the swell. Let's try right here a sports wave. I'm sure you've seen it, in those coliseums and so forth, where people raise their arms, and then it's a wave. So I'd like to try that right now. And so when I raise my hand over here, both hands up, and then bring them down as I go by. Up, 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 bring them down, then up, 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 up. Okay, down. Let's do it again. Up, up, up. Excellent. I must say, from this perspective, it looks pretty cool, But now let's put some consciousness into that. As we move this energy, feel as you breathe a positive sense of goodwill, and then take that, and as you move that energy, send the love and goodwill to those on that side. Same thing when we go the opposite way. Take it in and move it, and then feel what's going on. Okay. Wave, 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 moving, 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 waving, swell, swell, swell. Take it in, feel the difference, feel that energy. And here we go again, that way. Move it over towards your neighbors, moving it over there. Breathe it. And how many of you really felt that wave of energy from your neighbors right here? Excellent, very good. That'll give you something to do the next time you're on a train. You got to practice, right? We are energizers. We can manifest energy and move it. But you all know that, right? We can amplify it. And one extra trick to that is augmenting the senses, keeping your senses happy, like with aromas. That's why people use incense. Music, we've got some great music here. Thank you, music meisters. Raising the energies, lights, beautiful artwork, senses for the eyes, raising all that energies, and then from that higher perspective, inspired, then direct that energy out. You got to keep your senses happy. Now, with this next big cosmic wave coming up in April, as I said, it's the most intense the second week in April, but it'll be all of April. Imagine Gaia is increasing that wave of power, healing, inspiration, and goodwill. You take it in, make your plans, and those people who would know say, okay, wait a minute here now. Jupiter aligning with Neptune. It is a great time to meditate in Bali.
Yeah.
Let's go. Because Jupiter loves travel, loves adventure, loves something exotic. And Neptune loves the great seas and water and inspiration and islands. So sometimes when you might spontaneously say, well, I feel like going to the Caribbean, you know, or going to Hawaii or something like that. Well, I wonder as an astrologer, have you been touched off? Have you been inspired? Are you feeling your own personal swell? So we've got this wave going on, also in Europe, okay? And let's take a moment to feel that wave and send it over to those refugees in Ukraine, going towards Poland and Slovakia and so forth. We can be a part of the wave. We can be part of the solution. Swell, huh? Tell your neighbor now, you're swell. Go ahead. You're swell. Now, do you feel those good vibes, huh? How many feels those good vibes? There we go. You're swell. Yeah. Cowabunga. And blessings.